There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonko table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonko table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo, folks. Welcome to the latest and the greatest from the Yonko table. That is the voice of Grand Maester Hoop coming at you from the backs of the beasts beneath the boards to talk about the latest from House of the Dragon. That's right, folks. We're here to talk about the hit HBO Game of Thrones spinoff that looks at the deeper follies and falling apart of House Targaryen and what will eventually lead to an all-out civil war. And we're here to talk about the penultimate episode, episode 9. Big things happen in episode 9. And goodness gracious, the ball is in motion. Well, it's been in motion, but they just kicked it out the park. And then somebody came up and caught that ball from being a home run. And now we still got a game. We got a game. With me, as always, is Dr. Jake's attorney. Dr. Jake's attorney, are you team black or are you team green?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because there are characters that I like on Team Green. There are ones on there that I think they're doing their best with what they were dealt with. But in terms of succession to the throne, Team Black all the way. Team Black. No green should be sitting on that throne, but we'll see what happens in the finale next week. But a lot of things happened this week, and it was very Team Green focused. Not a drop of Team Black in there at all. Not a single one. A first.
Well, maybe a little drop. Maybe a little drop of Team Black.
Well, I guess okay, yeah, technically, especially with the ending. Of course, there was a hint of Team Black in there. But definitely a first in terms of the main head of Team Black not being present at all in the episode, which we'll get into. But yeah, I would say another good episode of House of the Dragon.
I would agree. Very self-contained episode. Team Green's response. But yeah, a lot to pick apart here. So I'm glad we're not alone in this venture. We have some supernovas joining the party. I'm sure they'll give us some insight on the doings of Team Green here. Let's see who will be joining in with us tonight. All right, let's get into this, folks. King Viserys, first of his name, King of the Andals, of the First Men, the Rhoynar, the Seven Realms,
the peaceful
King Viserys. He's out of there. We left him with his final words being "my love," but he had a whole statement he gave to Alicent, his wife, that was misinterpreted as far as Aegon should sit on the throne. Terribly misinterpreted. Aegon's Dream, the Song of Ice and Fire, terribly misinterpreted. Here we go. Balls in your court. Real quick, Nino, Dr. Rika, episode 9. Did this feel like an episode 9 for y'all? Was it good flavor of episode 9, Game of Thrones fashion?
I don't think it's necessary. Like I said, I think that this series has evolved past the Game of Thrones formula, because this definitely felt like a season finale of sorts. It didn't necessarily feel like, oh, big climactic moment. It definitely felt like it's the pot has been boiling, and this was just another, thing to add to the pot.
Another turn up the notch. Let's make it hotter.
Yeah, I think I had I'm going to plug the Discord again. But in our shared chat, we were having some discussion of things I was saying on Twitter, where I couldn't find an article. So I don't know where people got this information, but there were rumors that this week was going to be really focused on the greens, and next week could be focused on the blacks. And wasn't sure if it was true or not, but clearly, based off of the episode, it seems like that is the case. So similar to Nino, it did very much feel like kind of a season finale of sorts for the greens, and then we get next week as like that part 2 of, I guess based off of the trailers, the response by the blacks to what went on in this episode. I liked the kind of contained nature of it, and this like, where's Aegon? But also getting to see the characters interact. Some characters that we haven't had as much time with interact with one another. So I enjoyed this episode. I'm very much curious to dig in, because I think there's some important pieces that were moved this week.
Yes, for sure. I think, the most interesting part, coming right off rip, Team Green, it's divided. It is not a clear 100% consensus across the board as to how they wish to approach this succession. I found that to be probably the most intriguing, and we are greeted with that high council meeting, which really set the tone for the rest of the episode and what was going on. We have Allison coming there, breaks the news. We also get to see all the little spiders spread the news back to the White Worm in a nice little scene. But breaks the news, and the rest of them are all like, okay, how you want her? Rotisserie style or oven brick grilled?
Wait, there was not everybody. There was one.
Beesbury.
There's a couple.
I hated this.
I did not like Beesbury and Sir Harold. Yes, they were the two.
Real quick, what were the orbs?
The balls? I have no
were
idea.
they like a ceremonial thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's just part of the allure of the show. The aesthetic.
You ask these questions and you never ask about the other mythos. You're like, oh yeah, but what about those orbs on the table? Like, what's the meaning behind them?
They've been using it since the start. I think it's kind of like a check-in.
Were they?
Of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you collect all 7 and then say like some words, a dragon will come out.
Interesting. Interesting. They look like bath bombs. I mean,
they have been using it anytime there's been a council meeting, whenever it's like a check-in of like, I'm here, ready to get started. Yeah.
They clocked in.
They clocked in, and then they're good for clocking too. Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, right off rip, they've been secretly planning this, which is not a succession at this point. This is straight absorption for sure. If you're gonna, take out Rhaenyra, Daemon, they were ready. They said, "Here are the names. Let's go get them." And Alicent's like, "Hold on, what? Y'all been secretly planning to off all these people in the name of Aegon?" And
yes,
right, crazy. It's
except for one.
I would feel so much better. I would feel much more less conflicted about this if Aegon was at all competent, because then it would be like, oh, we're seeing like this side has a point. This side wants to continue precedent. This side wants to, this side actually has like somebody who they can say is of equal standing with Rhaenyra. But at this point, the only person who's been trained to be, to sit on the Iron Throne is Rhaenyra. It would seem I would be a lot more interested. It's interesting because of how they do the show, but I would be a lot more interested in the green side if Aegon wasn't a piece of shit.
Well, interestingly enough, we do get someone on the greens who feels they're more fit.
This is treason.
Little later on to that, but yes, the final words of Lord Beesbury. I've known Viserys longer than all of you, and what I hear is treason, mutiny, all this jazz, and again, you're talking about killing the king's daughter. He loved her. and your fucking boy, Kristen Cole.
Sit down. He just
No, it
sounds
was-
like a
no.
baby.
No. If we gave Grandmaster Hoop the right
The
to
boss.
do the Bastards line last week, you have to do it right. It was more like, sit down.
Go ahead,
Off
go ahead,
the
do
rails. I can't do it. I can't.
You
I don't
can't?
like Kristen Cole. I like Vayman. Kristen Cole has no right. He knew good and well he was not trying to make that man sit down. He said, "How dare you speak against the queen?" And Allison was like, "No one spoke against me, Kristen Cole.
Well,
You're okay."
Well, that was part of the argument that he was raising, where he was saying like, isn't this a little coincidental? He was always
yes.
Team Rhaenyra, but in his dying breath, he's telling you Aegon should be heir. And I'm not saying it was one or all of you, but how did he all of a sudden die after saying Aegon should be king?
And she was the only witness.
And she was the only witness. Kristen Cole was not having it
God,
at all.
Chris, is
I
this
hate
what
him.
you were? Is this what you were alluding to, Dr. Rika? Is this the worst of Kristen Cole, or does it get worse?
I will plead the fifth on that. But what I will say is, I just like to point out that he has now killed 2 people in the presence of other folks, other high-powered folks,
Oh,
and
yeah.
has, instead of facing any repercussions, continues to just rise and rank.
That seems so off. I had a problem with it. I had a
Well,
problem
he
with
had
it
a-
the first time, and it happened again, and I'm kind of taken aback as to how I mean, you had I forgot his name, but the head of the King Guard,
Harold.
he actually was like, "Bro, you can't do that. What'd you just do?"
Right.
And they
He
kinda
killed
just-
Lord Beesbury.
And they're kind of like, "Hold on, let's continue the meeting real quick." Before
I
No,
did-
they didn't.
I did
say
like
it
that line. I
No,
like
he was
that
just like,
line.
no one leaves this room until our business is finalized. And I was like, they mean
we're
business. They said
allowing
ba-
this.
Yeah,
Listen,
they have.
they're
Uh,
The last
basically
couple
encouraging
decades.
this.
Talking
They're
about
encouraging.
you know the Grinch, where the Grinch's heart like grows on
Right.
2 sides. Otto Hightower's balls grow 5 times their normal size that day. The balls on Otto Hightower, okay?
Ooh.
The
The balls
audacity.
on Otto Hightower. We are not leaving till business is concluded. And the audacity too. Beesbury is bleeding out right there, and they said, "Let's continue."
He's dead.
He's
dead.
yes, he's dead.
That was straight to the temple. That orb is likely what killed him. That little orb that hit him in the temple. It
Or
was a
you know,
cue ball.
that was the. I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. See, sit down. Terrible,
2 weeks in a row.
terrible.
Goodness.
Right. The Joker parallels just keep building off of each other. So yeah, man. Harold too. He's out because again, it's just like, until you decide who's gonna be a king, I'm out. And again, y'all just let Kristen Cole straight up murder. Y'all talk about murdering royal lineage, and it's like, this is not right. This is hello. We just had Viserys the Peaceful. Now you're like, let's start shit up. It was House Targaryen starts collapsing. It's pretty broken right now, and everybody can see it for the most part. So goodness gracious, the lines are drawn. I guess Otto versus Allison here, and it's a race. It is a race to find Aegon. The race for Aegon. What a hunt, a witch hunt. Aegon is the key.
There's also a
Aegon.
scene that happens right before they try to look for him with Helena. Helena matters in this story.
It matters
Yes.
so much. Yes.
Yes, because I don't have the foresight that Dr. Rika has, but I'm just saying because it seems that she knows something that was hinted at throughout the entire series, or maybe even confirmed, that there's little spies. She knows that
God.
she was like, there's a beast beneath the floorboards, and people think that she's just crazy, but she's actually like, hey, it's not safe to talk about this right now, even though I'm in my private room.
Wait, is that your interpretation of Beast Beneath the Floorboards?
Yes,
You're probably thinking of something
I
else,
have.
right?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
another. Right. With
And I have
that said,
another, but I will refrain from saying anything because it's a huge spoiler. But but I could also see that
more
as
past this episode.
yeah.
Beneath the
But I actually really
Floorboards?
I like this. I want Nino to keep going because I like this discussion about Helena, how important it is what she's saying. So I'll let him continue.
Yeah, I just think that I think that the little times that we see her throughout this episode is like, rather important. I feel like we got more of Helena and Aemon this episode than we got of actual Aegon. I'm not complaining, but it just seems that with Helena, she's feeling the most of Aegon's recklessness, because she's literally at home with the kids, and she's just like, I'm just doing my thing. I'm seeing everything. I hear everything, but I don't really have any power or ability to say it in a way that people can understand, because I think she has just a very specific way of talking.
She's been saying Beast Beneath the Floorboards since the last episode.
Oh, she said it. Yes.
Yeah,
Last week too. Oh,
Yeah,
She
she said it
did.
before.
she said it at the dinner table. I will say, to your point, you do see Aemond, who does genuinely care for Helena, which is an interesting juxtaposition given how he's obviously, not married to her. I saw a behind the scenes thing that also showed Aemond reprimanding Aegon last week.
it was that off-screen
yes.
dialogue that it's very difficult to hear, but it's
Yes.
there. Okay.
Yes, and he's reprimanding him about his mistreatment of Helena. I imagine big things for her later on, or she's just gonna continuously leave breadcrumbs and for no one to pick up except the audience, which shall be interesting.
I was gonna say that I think a lot of her scene, because she pointed out like her two kids. I can't remember the exact dialogue, but just said something to the effect of like, whenever someone else has something, the other wants it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting. Beast Beneath the Floorboards. She even made she had commented on Aemon losing his eye before it happened.
Yes,
Oh, she did.
she did.
Yeah.
She's
With the bugs.
Anytime
bug.
Helena's on
What-
screen, anything that she says is going to always be important.
she
What
said
did she say about the eye?
With the
Aegon,
boat, she's like,
Alice-
you'll have to lose an eye.
yes,
with a little boat.
Allison was like, you'll get a dragon, and he'll have to lose an eye.
Oh,
But she was
Yeah.
talking about her bug.
the bug, right? She's not
Yes.
directly referencing someone specific. She could just be talking to like an ant that she has in her hand, or
Well, interestingly enough, too, talking about the little spiders and the chain of spies, she's weaving an orb weaver on her little thing. So
right.
And
She's-
she's mentioned spiders before as well. And
she's
So-
she's very aware, but right, you wouldn't think this is her showing her awareness because it just looks
Yeah.
off kilter. So yeah, she's been dropping stuff.
we've talked about kind of the idea of maybe her being a green seer or having some degree of magic in previous episodes. But yeah, anytime Helena ever has a scene, she says something that's going to be really important to either something that happens in the episode or will happen either in later
I
episodes.
can't wait for her to drop next episode. Just casually. I'm talking to her kid. She's like, and his will be the Song of Ice and Fire. What, Helena? Nothing.
You tie it all together.
I'm sure you can probably write down everything she has said and have a little roadmap for what's going to transpire for the rest of the however long this series is. So pay attention.
According to George R. R. Martin, he wants 4 seasons of 10 episodes.
4.
So-
To do it justice. To do it
Good
justice.
justice.
It's not known if that's what's gonna happen.
It's
It's what he
think
wants.
so.
It's what he
No.
wants, but he's wanted other things before with
Okay, but
another show.
but D&D were also they
Dummies.
carried more weight in the writers' room than George R. R. Martin did. I think after they surpassed him in the events of the book, so they're like, since you don't have anything that we can like vulture from you, we're just gonna make up our own thing and you can't say anything about it. And then he's like, but what about young Griff? And then they're like, who? Doesn't matter. For all, if anyone that's a
Might
book
do
reader that listened to me right there, you'd chuckle at that statement.
I think I've heard of young Griff, but yes, George is like here. He's like very involved in this, rightfully so. I don't think he wants a repeat of the final seasons of Game of Thrones.
I don't think anyone does.
No, I don't think anybody does. But yeah, Helena, character to watch out for. Balls moving. Team Otto, consisting of star quarterback Sir Eric and star receiver Sir Eric.
All right.
Twins.
Arik and Eric.
There it is. Eric and Eric. Twins. Team Allison. Kristen Cole. What you call it? Damn it. Damn it. I had it going.
Laris?
No,
Or
I
he
was
kinda
gonna
does
give
his
him
own thing.
a team manager. He's team manager. Kristen Cole's team manager. Team manager pulls off Amon off the bench. Says, Amon, you know about your brother. You're coming with me. We're gonna go get him. The first to find Aegon receives the greatest influence over the would-be king, and whether or not to kill Rhaenyra.
I think
Or
that's a
not.
cool race against time because, like, you would think it's like, let's just find Aegon so that he can bring his ass here and announce him as the next heir. But it's literally a race against the same team because all of them are Team Hightower, Team Green, but they're all racing to find him because they want to influence him in their own way. They want to plant the seeds of doubt or tell him how to rule as soon as he becomes king. And it's like whoever gets him first, they get first dibs. I think that's kind of interesting how they structure that. Because you would think, yeah, they want Aegon on the throne, but for different reasons.
Well, ultimately they want him on the throne, but what it really comes down to, Allison. And again, we talk about her character and her hypocrisy, but I think she's changed a lot. And I think it really shows this episode. She does not want to kill Rhaenyra. She does not want to make this, this a bloodbath between families. And Otto Hightower don't give two shits. He said, she gotta go.
But I think it's mostly because that Rhaenyra is, or not Rhaenyra, but Alicent thinks what she's doing is right, and that her righteousness will lead her to the best possible outcome, or her perceived righteousness. Because I think she's very much deluding herself, especially since all the things that she was being critical about that we learned about this episode, but all the things that she's been super critical on Rhaenyra for, the bastards. She's suddenly, later on in this episode, we see mysterious little kid getting ready to be thrown into
that was crazy.
the kid pit to go fight.
The kid pit, the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. This is Chuck E. Cheese of Westeros. Let the
Yes.
kids have their fun.
But without the ball pit and instead
Sharpen their nails and
Yeah.
file their teeth.
God, that's terrible. But and then look at her two children. Her two children married each other when she was talking about queer customs to Rhaenyra a couple episodes ago. So it's kind of like everything that you criticized Rhaenyra for, your children have done, specifically Aegon, has done in spades. Probably worse, but because you can have an influence over him, you are like a better influence, you're perceiving yourself to be doing the right thing.
No, I definitely see this episode as a like a character portrait of Aegon, of who we're putting on the throne, because that's kind of like the adventure of like going through the city. You get to see he goes to all these brothels, he has all these bastard children, he partakes in these child pit fights. This is the person that's gonna be king, and he doesn't want to be king. He's made that very clear from previous episodes, but I kind of like the adventure that they're going through in the city. They're picking up pieces of the type of person Aegon is, and then you also get some insight into Aemond, what he wants out of all of this, because I think we kind of painted Aemond in like kind of like a bad light from the last couple episodes, because he did some, I guess, bad stuff, with the eye scene, questionable. But in a lot of those instances, he was kind of just retaliating against the people that were bullying him for years. But in terms of like to the people he cares about, he's not that bad of a person. From what I could tell, he loves his mother, respects his mother. He loves his sister, Helena. He's not that bad. Seemingly right now.
He also seemed to generally care about when he heard of his father's passing.
Yeah,
he was very.
Wow! Well, what a strange reaction to have.
And it's just like, I wonder, and this is where now I must question, if Aegon were not in the picture and Rhaenyra had more time to and wasn't so threatened by the idea that someone may take her throne. I'm pretending Aegon doesn't exist because I don't think anyone could get along with Aegon. But would Aemond and Helena have been treated like family? Like more so? If there wasn't such an impending meteor coming to steal the throne, and if there wasn't, if Rhaenyra had the chance to be more, I think that this family dynamic could work. However, that's not what happens. Now we have a guy who is just a drunk.
Among other things.
Oh,
I was going to say, I could be wrong about this, but I do believe in the books that at least Helena and Rhaenyra had a better relationship than we've seen. I could be getting some wires crossed, but I think there are some relationships we just haven't been able to get the opportunity to kind of dive more into. Because I agree with you. I think that could have been a more interesting dynamic. Like, hypothetically, if Aegon wasn't, or if he was just if he didn't have all the pressure. I think there was a piece of dialogue last week that we talked about of if he didn't have the pressure of you are supposed to be king instead of your sister, and let's pin you, if he was just treated as a
son,
part of the family, yes, as son and part of the family, rather than a usurper. I'm wondering kind of how that would have changed some of his characterization. But I think to the comment around Aemond, I said it last week that he reminds me a lot of Daemon, and I hold to that because it's similar to what y'all just said of cares for the family, retaliates when he does, maybe some suspicious, questionable behaviors that we've seen, and not to the degree of Daemon, of course.
I mean, his criminal hood is pretty on par Daemon's.
Daemon-ish.
So you're we gotta go do some sneaky shit.
Some sneaky shit, yeah.
Hoods by Daemon.
I do find Aemond very intriguing, though, as far as just the piece of I'm the one who studies the histories and the philosophies. I've done the sword training. He frankly is, if we're choosing people who are fit to actually rule, I imagine he probably has a lot more qualities than his brother at this point in time.
Yeah, but not as many qualities as Bran the Broken.
All right, who's got a better story than Bran the Broken? Right. Mm-hmm. Half the time, I don't know the specific age, but relatively, these are still children. No, they're not past
17 to 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they're still got a lot of growing pains they're going through. Aegon wants love. Aemond wants Respect.
Wait,
Uh,
Aegon wants. Oh, you mean like
Mm.
like motherly love, like
Yeah,
parental
just
love?
like parental love.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
I could buy that.
and
I mean,
What
Aemon-
he
he's always
needs is a
wanted it.
castration.
Right. But I think Allison's conversation with Rhaenys really kind of put things in perspective as far as if Rhaenys was chosen way back when, Viserys's family would be out in the countryside, living life, hunting, enjoying, and he probably
Viserys would have had
been-
such a great life. He would have been with Aemma. He would have just been like, I'm just gonna have fun and be, a
Don't
dreamer.
worry about an heir. You don't need a
Right.
son. Just
right.
Have however many kids you want. Don't
And
worry about it.
even in a scenario where he still has Aemon, Aegon, and Helena, I think they would have turned out a lot better than what we were given here, given the circumstances of what's going on. So yeah, it just kind of sucks that they're just all in this really twisted position, and you got people in one ear and people in the other ear, and you can't catch a break.
I will say that conversation that Alicent and Rhaenys have, Alicent was able to connect to Rhaenys, I think, better than Rhaenyra.
I agree.
I think. She
However,
did,
Rhaenyra knows how to play the game, and they know, like, you know what I mean. Like, Rhaenyra and Rhaenys are both like, listen, we don't like each other, and I'm not going to pretend I like you, but let's do business. Versus Alicent is like, I'm trying to appeal to your emotions as a mother, as a this, and part of it works, but also part of it is just like fat chance in hell that ever happened.
I think too that there's a level of Alicent doesn't have as much like insight. Like we've already talked about the hypocrisy of like, man, you just criticize this other person for all the things you're literally, letting people around you get away with, like, and you're not calling them out on any of that. That the dots are not connecting for her in that way. There's a low level of insight. I think Rhaenyra, there is some awareness of like, yeah, I'm not in a great position. So whenever I'm offering folks that, like the piece of dialogue we had last week of like, is this desperate? Is this smart? Like, it's probably both, and she'll play the game and here's my position. I know where I stand. Like, I'm going to offer some folks something to make something happen. And I don't think Alicent works in the same way. I think she has her little moments of trying to get some information. We see the scene a little bit later with her father. So she can make things happen. I think she wants them in a very specific way. And I just don't think they're going to hold strong to that, like, ever. It's pretty delicate.
I think it's a fool's errand if you want to control a man like Aegon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at the more, how should I say, people with better temperament. If someone with a better temperament is Daemon and Aemond, who are violent, I think you need to reevaluate who you're putting your claim against. And here's another thing. I guess I guess I'm gonna say this, but spoilers for Game of Thrones, but Aemond, Maester Aemon,
Aemon, no D.
Yeah, Aemon. He abdicated the throne, in preferring someone who's another Aegon, who is like from the Duncan Egg novellas. And I think that was, one of the first time, or actually maybe the first time, that someone had abdicated on behalf of their brother. But I'm like, what is the word abdication not in your vocabulary? Why can't you just say, why didn't they let him go on that ship and, go be a rapist somewhere else and like leave, like, you can't kill your brother, but you can make sure you never see him again. I'm just saying.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say no one's using their head.
I think no one's using their head. I also think for the Team Green side of things, I think they're just so ingrained in like what is tradition, as opposed to Rhaenyra's side on Team Black, where it's like what is not tradition. So, you know, Rhaenyra being named as heir is not tradition as to who is allowed to take the Iron Throne. So she's on her own side trying to make her claim to the throne, whereas Team Alicent, I mean, Alicent claims she's trying to do everything proper, the way things are supposed to be done. And by the law of succession, you know, the heir, the firstborn male heir of the king is the one that's supposed to take the throne. People might disagree with the person that is actually taking the throne, but I think that's where you get moments with, like, you know, later in the episode with Aemon and Aegon fighting each other, and he's like, listen, just send me on a boat, I will leave and do my business and you can take the throne. And Aemon just is really not into it, because again, he's on the side of that's not what it's supposed to be. You are the firstborn, you're the firstborn male heir, you have
and
to
also,
take
yeah.
that.
And also Aemon,
yeah.
Aemon kind of loves his brother, even though Aegon is a piece of shit. Like you can tell that he loves his brother. Like he's just still like, I don't, you know, I think you just need to. I think it's a moment of you need to step up, versus me making an excuse for you to leave.
He wants his brother to be better.
Yeah.
He may spit in his face, but he wants what's best for him.
Who are we to knock that? Wanting family to be better.
I mean, essentially that's what Daemon wanted too for Viserys.
Yes.
Very
true.
Parallels. Yeah.
And that's what Viserys wanted for Daemon as well. They wanted family. But I have to mention this since we're on this specific scene, and I guess that we'll get to the White Worm later, but when they intercept the news, it was a little silly to see them hiding in broad daylight on the railings of the stairs.
Wait, who?
Kristen Cole and Aemond to catch the twins and the prince.
Oh, okay.
And then they just jump out and they're like, I got you. I was like, wow, what in the high school department drama choreography do we have here? It was very funny. And Kristen Cole's face that he makes when he's like a little mad, you know, I have to give it to the actor, because he's very entertaining to watch, but he makes this look of like almost Nick Cage-esque when he's trying to he's like, I'm gonna cut you down in the name of my queen, you know. And it's just very funny, like, to watch. I started cracking up at that scene. I was like, maybe it was a reshoot, but this seemed very different from the rest of the.
He wanted a reason.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just say there was one piece of the Rhaenys Alicent conversation I just wanted to highlight was just Rhaenys saying to Alicent, like, all these men around you, like, you're doing everything kind of in service of them.
You toil in the service to men, yes.
And I really, really liked that piece of dialogue, because it's basically what we've been saying the entire time that we've talked about Alicent for the last 9 episodes. And actually really, part of me finds, I like the complication messiness of her, of just like, yes, she's kind of wrapped up in what Rhaenys said and the patriarchy, and her son and her husband and her father and all of these various things. She's trying to figure out, like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing, I guess, following along, but nothing has, it's granted me nothing. Like, I've suffered the entire time in some way or form. And I really, really liked that dialogue.
To follow up that dialogue you're mentioning, she says, you don't desire to be free, but to make a window of your prison. And she's like, Rhaenys is basically saying, like, why don't you ever envision yourself on the Iron Throne? Which from this point makes me think we may see some change in tides, as far as, like, I don't think Alicent's gonna be like, I'm gonna sit on the throne instead of my sons, but definitely be kind of, you listen to me now, versus, you know,
definitely trying to pull what we see later on, like a Cersei or a Marjorie, trying to sway these men into the right quote unquote real course of action.
And it's again, Bernice has the most insight, I believe. She sees every corner of kind of men's ambition.
He's very
And what-
observant.
The lengths men will go to keep these women out of power, you know. So I too really liked that piece. The White Worm,
We finally get resolution.
So this
It's the
is
White
dude,
Worm.
was it resolution that we were rewarded?
It was a plot thread that had been building up, and now I feel like it's resolved. At least in a way resolved. Like there's a conclusion.
this
because they-
True.
Yeah.
this plot thread. I think I wasn't following too well throughout the past few episodes. So who's the white? I mean, this is Damon's ex.
Damon's second wife. Damon's
No,
second wife.
no,
No.
she was never.
Oh, they never
married.
married. They never
No.
married.
She
Right.
was-
She didn't want to be married.
She was
Zarya.
a sex worker.
Okay.
Okay.
And she
Yeah.
never wanted to marry, so they never did marry.
Yes.
So she created the network.
Spies. Yes. And it seems that hold up here. Wait. I'm getting ready.
Sure.
The White Worm was done so dirty because it seems that this was when you look at like Alicent versus Rhaenyra stuff and even Rhaenys in terms of like the ideas of feminism, none of them don't care about people. They don't care about women. They only care about themselves and like themselves adjacent, you know, because these are still rich people talking about rich people things. They're like, my uncle would only abdicate the throne or whatever, you know. It's rich people things. Who cares? These people, like the White Worm, is literally seeing people on the ground, and she knows how to play the game, and she's also patient because she has like this spy network that we're led to believe like throughout the entire time. Like she was the one who notified Otto Hightower of Rhaenyra and Daemon in the bathhouses.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
She was
correct.
the one. Yeah, she has spies basically everywhere. Now she comes in and talks to Otto Hightower and say, "I want an end to children fighting in Flea Bottom. I don't like it. I don't want it." And it seems that this is a person that has gone through so much trauma of being in a business that only exploits people for their bodies and then is trying to advocate for people. And what do we get?
Burned up.
Yes, burned up.
All right, okay, so that was her house, right?
Yeah.
That was her house. Yes.
Oh,
We saw it in many-
Oh, wow! I didn't. Goodness, I
we
didn't.
saw
put
it.
that
We saw it
together.
many times. We saw it with Damon that was staying there, and when he got really drunk, we saw it when she was receiving news at a certain point.
Mhm.
This was a very important, you know.
So, so the
when-
house that Rhaenys looked out the window from, and she saw it on fire, right? It was Rhaenys that looked out the window, and there was a house.
I
on
thought
fire?
we just
Or
got
was-
like a little montage scene.
I
And
think we just got a little
Okay.
shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that house on fire was hers. Okay.
Yes.
So, well, I mean, she's not confirmed dead, but are we assuming she's dead?
I think it
general,
implies
the
it.
general rule
Eh.
is that if we don't see a body,
Well, because
then-
like, in that scene with the White Worm and Otto Hightower, she's trying to make it a point, saying like, I guess like, remember what I'm doing for you, and then he says, "I'll remember." And
Well, Otto Hightower's not the one who pulled that trigger.
what
that
the
was-
fire?
Yeah,
Yes,
that
Allison.
trigger was
Yeah.
pulled indirectly by Alicent because Sir Laris comes
Ooh,
up.
our
it was pretty
favorite.
directly. It was pretty directly. It was just like, I
pretty
assume
direct.
that your services can handle this,
Mhm.
you know.
Because what? She's tired of Otto having the upper leg on her, right? Because he basically says, "Hey, I found out all the servants are in service to the White Worm." And
There is build up. You have to build this
no,
up.
I got you. I know.
Okay,
So
okay.
he explains that all the servants are in servitude to the White Worm. Your lady in waiting, Tyla,
Uh,
um,
Yeah.
she's the one that was able to get that word out first of the king's death. And now, Nino, you're mentioning, how she's advocating for, people who service their bodies for, people of higher power. And then here we learn the big reveal as far as Allison's like, can you take care of this? And I think even before, this dude is terrible. So what? They're talking and socks come off.
No.
First
Shoe comes off.
Shoes. Sorry,
Feet
shoes come
on
off.
And you should
Table.
specify that this is Lord Laris.
Yes.
Yeah,
Lord
Lars, yeah.
and Allison.
Yes.
Lars
Yes.
and Allison. So shoes come off first, right? Okay.
Right.
Shoes.
That's the tease.
Shoes come
so he keeps going. He keeps going.
He keeps going. His memory gets fuzzy again.
I can't remember what happens next.
Socks. Now socks.
Now socks come off. And they're there.
And now he continues giving more information on the situation. Mind you, the hour is late. This is like in the dead of night. He's doing this.
Yes.
Right. Which
calls
ties
for-
back into Otto Hightower's conversation with Allison, where he was saying you and Lars have been spending a lot of he had a conversation with Laris, not
Yeah.
Allison.
Yes.
And
saying,
Laris is kind of playing like every side. They're like, Laris, you could, and he's like, before you even say a word, I can work for you while working for them. Laris sees people in King's Landing, and he's just walking on his own, and you can just look at him for too long, and he'll be like, I can work for you now. It's okay. And that's what Laris does.
but he needs payment in return. He needs
Ugh.
some payment.
So he's given the news. Feet are exposed.
And he pulls an Aegon in episode whatever. He starts choking the chicken.
Is that what they call it back then?
they call
And
it
she
back
pulls up
then.
her dress now, right?
I don't
For-
think. Well, just
to
show
put
more
her
of the
feet on the
feet.
little pillow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
that's it. And she kind of just turns away, lets him do his thing away from her
Uh,
eyes.
In
He's right.
captions, Sir Lars is heavy breathing.
Is that what it
did that
says?
in the caption?
Yes, it
says
did.
These writers are sickos, I'm sorry.
Did you expect a foot fetish in House of the Dragon?
Okay, I don't mind the foot fetish, it's fine. People like what they like, Elden Ring, full of foot fetish, made by a foot fetish person. It's okay. But now we have to come to the sick irony that the person with a club foot has a foot fetish.
Wow.
There's
Hilarious.
There's some sickos here. It's like I'm not even gonna go forward with that next train of thought. I bursted out laughing. I cannot believe I am uncomfortable with the vibe that we have created in the studio today. That is my thoughts on the matter.
In a
My-
way,
my
you could.
thoughts-
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Allison really she ain't got nobody around her. I guess I won't say nobody. Helena is just minding her business. But everybody else is either questionable or it's gone beyond the question. Like we're aware where they stand, And her
One-
sigh, just the sigh of like she's tired. But
it
keeps
was the
going.
sigh that sold me.
And
Because
here's-
that wasn't the first time. That was not the first time. it
Well,
happened.
No,
obviously, it was not the first
she
time.
immediately
She
took
knew.
off her shoes and put her
Yes.
feet. She was like,
no
this
words
is the-
needed to be
She
exchanged.
rolled her eyes. She was like, oh,
This
God, okay.
again.
"Put
Right.
away those grippers."
I mean,
Which is crazy that this is what it's been going on this whole time.
And you could also connect it to this man killed his brother and his father
For some feet.
for some feet. It's like, damn, priorities.
He said-
family, brother, father, the feet
They
of the
said-
queen, baby.
They,
That's at the
they
top.
said, they said, you down for your family? No, I ain't down for my family. I'm 10 toes down. I'm 10 toes down. I want my 10 toes. Fuck my family. I'm down for them toes.
So so this episode I think was very plot heavy, not so much as thematic heavy, which is sometimes you need those because it was really good plot, and I know Dr. Jace Attorney over here, who on the slower thematic moments he's like, what is going on? I'm confused. Who is this? But I'm sure he loved this episode. I'm sure he loved this episode because it was very plot oriented, but it did it well. But here is one of the thematic points that I think ties into the rest of the show. I don't feel bad for Alicent because in an effort for her having to exploit her body to keep everything hush hush, she is purposefully and maybe not knowingly, but she is literally throwing someone who's trying to advocate for people, like for children, under the bus, just so that she can feel like this is the righteous thing to do. I hate it, but it's good thematic storytelling that these are not people we should be rooting for. So these are people with deep complexities, and ultimately Game of Thrones has always been like the people in power, absolute idiots that do not care about the lives of their people. And it's also points out
number one.
Points out that Alicent is like, a queen must, advocate for her people or think of her people when she's talking to Rhaenys. Where was this? Where was this here? Maybe she didn't know the deal that was cut, but at the same time, she didn't care. Who knows how long the fighting has been going on in Fleet Bottom? Nobody cares. You know what they do care? Aegon, stop masturbating out the window.
I mean, I don't even think she learned about the fighting in Fleet Bottom. She just didn't like that this
information
network
was being shared. Yeah.
Right.
But
So
I don't think. But I think this is more of a thematic lens. She doesn't even care that the fighting is going on because she doesn't even care to know about it. So if she knows about it, don't care.
She doesn't further inquire. She doesn't go talk to the White Worm herself to see what's going on. She's just like, you already conspired with my father. That's enough for you to be gone. So yeah, no. Very thematic storytelling. I would even say too, she has a big moment where she stands up to Otto and says, you've been, molding me to be whatever you wanted me to be and all that jazz. And, and she's like, we have Aegon. I'm going to do with him as I see fit. All right. I'm no longer going to, do your little thing. And then immediately we get the Lara scene right after that brings her back down.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a lot of the thematic elements were very well placed in this episode. And then, yes, when you tie it back to, she, at the end of the day, she is making a window out of her prison versus actually trying to, take over the prison. Dismantle it.
And even look at and this is where Kristen Cole becomes a more interesting character within this theming, because he's the only one that's lowborn, but he is a devout advocate, or not an advocate, but a devout
loyalist.
Yeah, loyalist to the queen. He got his rising because he proved his merit in battle, and Rhaenyra saw that. But then after, Alicent was like, I can use you for better than you just, after that fallout happened. And it just seems that Alicent not only is knowingly or unknowingly, she put to bed good things that good things that could have happened for poor people, and she's actively using a poor person puppet as her Kingsguard, her what do you call it? What's Lord Commander of the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
It's good storytelling. I'm just upset by it.
You can be upset again. It's really hard to root for people here. I think Sir Eric is someone we can start maybe rooting for. I mean, he pulled a good deed here.
This is treason.
basically, and he helps Rhaenys escape, and he's like, "Yo, Aegon is not it. Like, please get
and-
Rhaenyra."
Oh man, you know what? And they said this in the what do you call it? The after the episode.
During
They
that
said
little
that this is
fight.
the first time that they went out of the castle. So they had to make the most of it. Tying back into this big theming, these people are herded like sheep. They were literally sheep, and the soldiers are knocking them out and like, get out the way. You know, like they're treating them like they were cattle, just so that they could perform how the nobles wanted them to perform.
They're fodder.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, and the sheep in that scene too. Does that add on
There
to
was
that?
sheep. Yeah, there was
symbolism?
actual sheep.
Were- there
It
weren't good
was
sheep.
so.
It could have been any
You're welcome.
animal, but no. it
It's
was a
time.
sheep.
It's time to say it, Dr. Jace. This is. You could say this has layers.
Oh, like a certain vegetable.
They mentioned an onion in this episode.
Well, it was as an insult, so I don't count that. And it came from Otto Hightower, so no, absolutely not.
That's where
What
we
was it?
dropped the line.
He said it to the white worm.
Yeah,
But
he said, "Are you adding an onion to this?"
No. He said like or oh god, he asked like who she was, and he's like, is this something I should care for, or is this like the sour layer to an onion, or it was something like that. He used onions in a negative comparison, so no, screw Otto Hightower.
Oh,
Well,
never.
No, I was just gonna add to Nino's discussion about just like the royal family and their connection or lack of connection to the people, because I think even Rhaenys's reaction to Sir Eric helps, but then they get separated, and so she's out on her own, and now she's being shuffled. And I think I don't know if it's surprise, but just the discomfort in her circumstances, and now she's being amongst the cattle, the sheep, the people that are being treated in this way. I think that was interesting, and I imagine we'll get to the very end, but there are even pieces of that connect to these folks are still out of touch, because while the ending was badass, there are likely lots of people hurt in that showing as well, and it's not something that folks care about because of the spectacle but we'll get to that. So that common theme that Nino has been discussing, as far as like these people are fighting and it's really just for the benefit of them. It's not really actually going to be helpful or beneficial to people as a whole within Westeros, which has always been the case, as we saw in Game of Thrones as well. Like, people are going to be impacted negatively while just a smaller group of people are fighting. But I guess it's also reflective of our actual lives. But anyway.
No. We watch these shows to see their first world problems. Meanwhile, the third world problems of the show get buried beneath our,
They're the NPCs of the
Yeah,
Game of
no.
Thrones. I mean, they are. It's like who cares about them? It's
don't
all about the
care.
nobles, the aristocrats, because
Yes,
they control everything.
we hear of crime in Flea Bottom. This episode gives us these child coliseums. We have never seen that before, and people know there are bastard royalty running around, and they're just letting them.
They straight up showed us a Targaryen in there.
Yeah, full on white hair.
Right.
And I'm like, hello?
Insane.
And they don't care. They don't care. And it's like, well, just watching this, it's like, are we, we care so much about who sits on the throne, but Nino, you said this a long time ago too. It's like, why do we care? It might be birthright versus absorption, but it's like, what are they going to do for the
the
actual
people?
realm?
What is this? This is not 2016. This is not the Nintendo release of Fire Emblem Conquest versus Birthright. That's a deep cut joke.
I think I know
just
that
wanted-
one.
I wish
was-
I had a
It was the only time
to
the
get
only
it.
time they wanted to do a dual release like Pokemon, and it blew up in their face. But
Oof.
that's basically what we're getting. Nope, we're getting it's House of the Dragon now. I'm just saying, George R. R. Martin got it from somewhere. He got it from Nintendo.
George R. R. Martin confirmed to be a Nintendo enthusiast.
Sure.
That's why he's never finishing Songs of Winter.
Winds of Winter, but he's never gonna.
It's
finish,
never coming
period.
out. What does it matter? What does it
He
matter?
said he's working on it. He said he's working on it.
I can't wait for him to announce that he's finished it and it's going out to press at the end of this year. And then I'm gonna come back and play this audio during our podcast.
Sure.
Covering it. And I'm gonna say, Dr. Jace, remember when you said this? Well, get ready to eat crow, a feast of them.
And that's when
Ooh.
you'll wake up from your dream.
So the corralling of the people is for the ceremony, the coronation of Aegon. We do get a little bit. We talked about a little bit with Aegon in the carriage with Alicent, and she's prepping him, and he's like, "Do you love me? Did you ever love me?" And she replies, "You imbecile." Is that "you imbecile? Of course I love you," or "you imbecile? No."
It came with a
Or is it a little
smirk.
bit of both?
It came with a smirk.
It's definitely a little bit of both. I don't think Alicent or Viserys care about that child. No,
I mean, she denounced him last week, or did she forget?
and that was
Announced, and well, she might have picked that up from Viserys's banishment of Daemon repeatedly, and she's like, "Oh well, I could say that one week and kind of be over it."
it's not even a week. It was like a couple of days ago
couple
in the show.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
that would be literally probably like 2 days ago. It's this episode is really like a 1 day or two. And then the previous episode was probably like 3 days. This is a week. Welcome to a week in King's Landing. That should be a Dateline show or something. All right, help me out. This place where they're doing the coronation. This is above the dragon pit, or where they keep the dragons.
I guess it has to be for
Maybe
what
the
happens.
Colosseum.
Yeah. It might not necessarily be the dragon pit, but just where they kept one of the dragons.
Meleys.
Meleys.
Yeah.
Yes,
Looked like-
yes, held in the very same dragon pit. This is from Vanity Fair, so that makes 2 kings crowned in the dragon pit: Aegon II, and then Bran the Broken.
Oh Jesus!
Was he
Enough.
crowned in the?
Yeah,
He
No,
was.
This was the,
I'm not. I'm not doing this. I kind of like this scene a little bit. It was very tense.
It was very good.
Yeah.
we had
like,
another long walk.
another long,
Very long walk.
I got the feeling this was not gonna go according to plan from the beginning. Just something bad was gonna happen. I don't know if one of those knights were gonna like drop their sword down on Aegon's head and be like, "Oh, this is treason." But no, it was very tense. The long walk, the standing in front of Otto Hightower, the crowning, the crown, placing the crown on the head.
This scene reminds me very much of the Boys finale for the previous season with Ryan, and how he's kind of reluctant to be coming out showing his powers.
Oh,
then
okay, yeah.
The crowd pretty much, gives him affirmation. Aegon this whole time was kind of very hesitant for this duty. Didn't seem fit, didn't seem right. And then, the crowd, they start, they're about it. They really did paint in the after credits, they definitely talked about how the High Towers kind of, definitely like painted this narrative and made it really dramatic and went for spectacle. Oh, King Viserys on his dying wish announces his son, and they're buying it. The people buy into it, and then Aegon, he like looks at them and he's like, yeah, pulls out the sword, that really cool conqueror sword. And I think it's like he's ready. Very hesitant at first. Puts up his Jesus arms.
Are you not entertained?
Essentially.
Or is this your king? Is this your king? No, I'm your king. Kind of energy. Very short-lived, however. Because Rhaenys ain't having this no more.
No.
Boom.
Did someone say, oh no? Because Rhaenys said, oh yeah, like the Kool-Aid man came bursting through.
You could say a Hulk came smashing in.
Or you could say the beast beneath the floorboards.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I was
yes.
initially
No.
this was the dragon beneath the floorboards, but then once it was said that she said it before previously, I was like, oh, so it might not be the dragon thing.
Yeah, and I think she's talking very metaphorical in the terms of the beast. Because why would they call dragons beast? They are dragons. They have features
It's
of,
Helena. It's Helena though. She's Helena.
she's a Targaryen. She's a Targaryen, blood of the old Valyria. They wouldn't call like that. You know what I mean? They wouldn't call.
It's a noble
dragons
creature.
Yeah, they wouldn't call dragons beast in that way. That's
I'm
what
gonna tell you right now, this may not be the de facto beast beneath the floorboards, but this works for me because she came up from under.
How?
And said, "What do you mean she came up from under?"
Oh, I guess you're right. The dragon pit was, got dressed very quickly too. How convenient.
She battled up. She was.
Yeah, I was like, man, was her armor ready to go?
I'm guessing it's like kind of like kitted on the saddle of the dragon, so it's like kind of there, or if not, like next to the dragon. So it's like a horse's stable. Everything's there. You're ready. You just satchel on, and then away you go.
Yeah, I there was no way that she was leaving King's Landing alive without her dragon.
Oh
Right.
no, yeah, I think
And
she's
you
lost
know,
enough.
and you know what? Here is my complaint. I'm tired of people on Twitter having such little care. And these are writers. This is a writer who said this. He was like, no, I'm done with this show. Rhaenys could have ended it right there. Have we been watching the same show? Rhaenys don't give a fuck about Rhaenyra. Rhaenys doesn't want to kill kids. This is a character. She had them right there, and she was like, "You're in front of your kids, and you're trying to protect them. I'm gonna go protect mine and give you the leniency."
When the theme is like she doesn't want to kill kids, I doubt she was discerning when she bursted in from the floor how many people she likely killed in
And
that.
to
but-
Nino's point earlier.
But again, it's all about like we don't care about the common folk. It's the aristocrats. It's the aristocrat story.
And you know what? I'm gonna say it here. Daenerys Targaryen was done so dirty in the show. Why do I come back to that? Because when her dragons in whatever the pyramid place was, when
Marine.
when a farmer came and brought that kid all burnt up because of her dragon,
She locked them up.
She locked them up. And apparently in the books, it's done with such an interesting like back and forth of her inquiring, should I even have this power if it's going to cause people like that are lower than me, like or in a lower station than me, to suffer? Daenerys is the queen I want. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Give me
But
that.
she's mad.
She had the makings of a good queen. She did.
She
and
did.
then
And then they completely went off script because
then she went to
watched,
Westeros.
I watched a very good video. I watched a very good analysis, a close reading of just her parts on the books. And yes, I haven't read the books, but it was such a good close reading. I have to recommend it. That they were
Interesting.
like, no, Daenerys would never go mad because her arc is not being set up that way. And whoever was writing the show just wanted a cheap cop out. And you know what? I believe it.
I believe that. I think that's pretty. That's what happened.
And you know, the only reason I bring up Daenerys up is because the show started with 300 years before Daenerys. And you want to know something? Or maybe, I don't know how many years. Maybe 100.
172.
It's yeah.
172. And you want to know something? After watching that close reading, after watching that person complete, it was like a 2-hour close reading, and he brought quotes, he brought analysis. It was beautiful. I was living my life. After that, I was like, she has earned that place. George R.R. Martin was such a good character. She has earned that place. And I will never take any slander. No slander. But until then, we're stuck with people who still care about petty politics.
And also too, I saw the same complaints on Twitter. You know, it's also only the first season, and they're gonna milk this for all they want. Y'all can't just be killing folks right away. So we have no show. The intention is to want. I mean, that's just overall logically. But I think to Dr. Jace's point, and also to Nino's overall kind of thematic conversation is, you know, she had that emotional investment, decided I can't kill the kids, but these specific kids though. You know, I'm not going to kill Alicent and her kids in this case, but I did just blow up through the floor and likely hurt quite a lot of people. But those aren't these people.
But not those people. Not the rich
And so I think
people.
that particular kind of the like, I can make this decision now, but also I'm going to take some inaction because I have respect for you in some way, or at least I can relate to you. But people still suffer. And I imagine that's going to be the case as we dive deeper into the Civil War, as it always is, as we saw in the original series too. Anytime there was a war, it's everyone else who's perishing along with, you know, the people in power as well. So
I know that it's coming, that these conversations, this is gonna haunt Game of Thrones nerds, or like the normie nerds that think that they're like, oh, it's the same thing to me with like anime comparisons, like, oh, Goku can solo the verse, man. These are such boring conversations, and I'm like, yes, Rhaenys did not just like, she made an active decision. Doesn't mean that she's stupid. It means that she's a well-written character. I've only seen 2 tweets and I'm already tired. I am tired of this people not knowing how to look at a good piece of show.
it's the same thing with the Aegon thing. We like to make jokes, but they're like, why can they name people names other than Aegon? Well, then we wouldn't have had last week. Like, we wouldn't have this week if we didn't have the misunderstanding from last week. Okay, wait, do you want to watch the show or not? And I think the discussions we've had for the last 9 weeks have been really interesting and intriguing and chock full of really good stuff. And I imagine and hope that continues as the series does. And that's what makes it fun, is that people make decisions. You wish they made different decisions, but at the same time, we're supposed to be entertained. And it's entertaining. The dragon was cool.
The dragon was great. I loved the dragon.
I like the
loved it.
design of her too.
This
She's
is not the
great.
first time we saw Meleys, but this is the first time. My background is the first time we've seen Meleys. But
Which
this
episode
is
was that one?
We're like 2, right?
2.
Yeah, don't quote me. Yeah, maybe 2.
And she was riding the dragon, right?
Yeah,
Right?
she's riding it, right. But
At least up close. This is nice up close.
very up close.
Okay.
I feel every dragon has gotten a moment. This was Meleys's moment. Meleys owned it. And yeah, I love Rhaenys' character. Rhaenys is starting to grow on me as probably my favorite character thus far.
She's a jaded woman who is growing. You know, you can definitely see that she's growing into something.
Well, it's just like I would understand if she said Dracarys. You know, I would understand if she did, but she doesn't, because she rises above every single time. And it's crazy how much conviction she has to not lower herself despite all the hardships that have been bestowed to her. And I'm like, go ahead, Rhaenys.
A
Let that
well-written
bitch screech
character.
and then fly out of there, you know? But also, it's too, she's a mother. She's not gonna, like you said, she's not gonna blast this mother trying to protect her children when she couldn't do it herself, you know?
Exactly. Except, you know, the cattle in King's Landing.
They're
She's like,
okay.
get these.
Screw those mothers. But she's also again, Rhaenys is still very much third party. She does kind of support Rhaenyra more, but she's like, I'm gonna let y'all
Like
duke it out.
reluctant.
Yeah,
She also
very-
has the
It's a
state.
reluctant support.
She
yeah.
she's already made a claim to marry the Valarians and and
Yes.
her grandchildren, basically. And
right.
she's kind of like, it solves it ties up all the issues that I ever have in one neat bow. You know what I mean? And she's like, honestly, she's like, why would I give it up? You want me to rule over a house in Driftmark? Of course, Alicent wasn't coming from I think really Alicent misunderstood that people can actually love their husbands.
Yeah.
And love
Like-
their families.
Yeah. Correct. I just think,
Only
yeah,
she-
Alicent all this time has had the wrong people saying the wrong things to her. While you got Rhaenys. I mean, yes, Corlys definitely had his own ambitions for the throne. However, I truly believe he did love Rhaenys and he loved their children. Just, you know, his ambition, everything that was second to his ambition. But like with Alicent, everybody who was in her ear was ambition over everything, with anything else being so low on the totem pole. So,
And you know, that's a great point. And back to it's a great theme. It is a great theme because on Rhaenyra's side, everyone is so family focused. Even like you have, you know, Rhaenys who's trying to protect her family, Corlys who loves people that have his name, who he considers family. He's like, that's my family. You have people, you know, there are so many people. And then when you see who's on Alicent's side, it's always people who are willing to betray family. Otto's ready to betray people, you know,
Laris.
Varys, Kristen Cole, who, you know, would literally do anything. He literally comes from nothing. And he's just like, my dad was stupid. He was a stupid, you know. It's just very interesting to see on both sides. One is so very much, we love our families and that the conflict is built because of it. And then the other side is, we don't care about our families and the conflict is building because of it.
window out of a prison, you're making the best that you can, and it ain't cutting it. But hey, Aegon got the crown. He is current king.
How do we think it's gonna go down? Next
Word's
week?
gonna get back. I mean, that preview would make you think it's about
I
to
haven't
go
seen
down.
the preview. Is it like?
Oh, you didn't watch it? Oh man.
Well, because it ended with the, because they always put this in like a weird spot. They've kept changing it every week, where like sometimes they show the preview in the episode, and so like you can't miss it. Other times that it's outside of the episode. So you have
Yeah, it
to
was
kind of
after the
wait.
credits.
Yeah, it's after
Okay.
the sneak peek or whatever. Yeah, or not the sneak
Okay.
peek, the inside the episode, I think. Or
After
no,
the
it's
No.
before. It's before the inside
It's
the
the
episode.
credits, the sneak peek, and then inside the episode.
I think I skipped once the credits started rolling. I skipped straight to inside the episode.
It's the problem is that HBO does such a bad job with this, because going back to our Euphoria podcast, we had the same complaint. Some of us would be like, we didn't even know there
Oh,
was a
wow.
sneak peek.
Oh, I missed the previews all the time.
So
Exactly.
did I. I always miss the previews.
And
So
they
is it
were
I will
early.
say-
in this one? Is it like
What was that?
is it chaotic? The preview for next week's episode.
I wouldn't call it chaotic, but there's a lot of dragons. I'll say that much. They
That
showcase.
sounds like chaos.
They showcase a lot of. It could just be fodder. It might just be a tease, but
I think, yeah, I genuinely think that next week is probably going to be less of a. It's probably just going to be like not so much as like a triumphant character moment, and much more of a. We're just going to set things up for season 2, because this felt like a very big thing, with very high tensions. Next week just feels like. I genuinely feel it's probably going to just go out with like a.
Really?
Setting things up. But that's maybe
just based on what you saw in the preview, or from what happened in this episode.
I think from what happened in this episode, like I don't see them adding something, or even ending on a cliffhanger that could impact the story in such a way. I just see them kind of being like, we're gonna set things up for season 2, and if you want to watch it, you can join us for the ride.
Okay.
Well, we do know it is, of course, Rhaenyra and focused as far as the aftermath, because we did see Rhaenys coming up to Dragonstone. I feel sort of the same as far as setting up for season 2. There is something that I will not share, but there's something that I think they're leading to that I've been curious about, whether or not it would be in this season or the second season. But there is a possibility of something big happening that I'm curious about whether they're going to go there or not.
Ooh.
But I do feel interested in how they're going to be setting up kind of the ending leading into season 2. But we did see a lot of dragons. We did see some what are we going to do plotting. We saw the map as far as of Westeros, and I imagine Rhaenyra is going to have to try to find some people to rally on her side now that things have happened as they have here in this episode. So I'm curious about how that's going to turn out.
Oh yeah, man. We didn't actually talk about it. There are some people who are, keeping their oath, but I don't think they live.
No.
Right. So, but with that said, that was not all the houses of Westeros who were there. So,
Right.
right. If they can rally the people, she's got a good, group
Support. Yeah.
army. Yeah. But yeah, it seems like it's probably something big will happen, but it will probably correlate with whatever happens in season 2 and set it up like that, which I'm okay with because I'm thoroughly enjoying House of the Dragon and everything it's offered, minus the third world problems of Flea Bottom and King's Landing.
But the incest,
Oh, and the incest, and the murder,
Yeah.
and the assault. Other than that, it's great.
Dragons are great. It actually has
Dragons are
been really
cool.
It has been cool seeing just the different designs. Sorry, my cat is wanting her presence to be known. I have enjoyed seeing whenever we get to see one up close, kind of the differences between all of them. Since we really only got the 3 in the original series, it's nice to see the variation.
It's very cool, and obviously big budget to put them all on screen together. So we might get a little bit next week. But yeah, it's Team Black next week, and what they do with the knowledge of King Viserys' death. So that shall be exciting. Quite explosive. But yes, thoroughly enjoyed this episode, more condensed, but yeah, it's let's get a look in Team Green, how they're doing. So those are my final thoughts. Does anyone have any final thoughts on this episode?
No, it was just a great House of the Dragon episode. I think they kind of stepped away from traditionally how Game of Thrones did their penultimate episode, and we kind of talked about that last week a little bit. And I think that's fine. I don't think they need to, hold to tradition. It's about breaking away from tradition. That's the whole theme of the show.
Ooh.
Look at that, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. So yeah, I'm totally fine with it. It was still satisfying for an episode 9, a penultimate episode, and I'm sure the season finale will deliver. I will be very shocked if I leave the finale thinking like it was a stinker, because none of these episodes before that were stinkers. They were very good. I think the show's been getting better as it's been going along. So high hopes for episode 10 of House of the Dragon.
Yes, high hopes indeed for the first finale of House of the Dragon. But that's it, folks. Without further ado, we closing things out here at the Yonko table, talking about episode 9 of House of the Dragon. Oh my gosh, I did not get the title of this episode. What was the title?
Green Council.
The Green Council. So excellently titled, The Green Council. Very nice insight of the Green Council. But that's it from us here at the Yonko table, folks. Make sure if you're not, you're following us on all social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Got things popping over there on Twitch, thanks to Dr. Jace Attorney. TikTok got things popping on there. Go check it out. TikTok, we got good things. If you love to see our faces, check us out on YouTube. And again, thank you for listening through your various podcast stations. But without further ado, I'm your host, Grandmaster Hoop, fellow Yonko, Dr. Jace Attorney, and Supernova's Nino Desposado and Dr. Rika. Nah, there's no song to close out on. So we're okay. All right, y'all take care. Hoop Power had
Rings of Power. Rings of Power.
Rings of Power had a song. I wish there was something. Whatever. All right, take care, folks. We'll see you next week.